Hello everyone, welcome to the 7th episode of the season 2 of KRANKcast. I'm your host Tudor and you're watching KRANKcast, a podcast sponsored by KRANKiT. Yeah, I'm sponsoring my own podcast right now. It's getting that bad. Now, in all seriousness though, we have a few interesting topics, that's for sure, for today that we're gonna approach. And then we're having a bit of a change of format. So we're gonna keep the news section. We're gonna do a blast from the past section. We're gonna talk about an older bike that somehow was important and it might still be important. And then we're also gonna talk about KRANKiT and what have we been up to, because there are a lot of things that happen, and so I want to give sort of this weekly update both to you guys and to myself, because I think it's important to keep track of what we're doing. But we're quickly gonna go through the news topics. So you can try a zero motorcycle before buying. Ducati Panigale V4S, that's an amazing time lap time at Jerez. Free Bimota Tesi 3D are for sale in England. We're going to talk about what those are. The Honda CB350 RS is launching. We found another Honda, a CL360 that's in kind of mint condition. Barn find, not really. We're going to talk about MV Agusta with their new Brutale, the Brutale 800 dragster. And finally, we're going to talk about a rumor that we might get a new wannabe Superbike from Yamaha based on the MT-07 platform. And now finally, the controversial or blast from the past section, we are actually going to talk about Ducati. And by the time when they came out with the 999, and everyone both loved it and absolutely hated it. Then we're going to talk about the updates for KRANKiT. But that's for a little bit later, so let's start with the beginning and let's talk about news. So, in selective places in the US, you can now try a zero motorcycle before actually buying it. Now, if you don't know what Zero is an American motorcycle manufacturer that builds electric bikes. They want to be sort of the Tesla of motorcycles. And it's fine, their bikes are fine. They're actually quite good to ride. Of course, they all suffer a bit with the range, as all electric motorcycles do. I think in the motorcycling industry, this issue is much more prevalent than we have it in the car industry. Makes sense. Bikes are smaller, batteries have to be smaller, so on and so forth. But we have two companies, right? So you have Zero, and then you have another company called Eagle Rider, which previously they have been a motorcycle rental company. And these two companies decided to partner up and offer a service to both their customers. So what you can do now is you can rent zero motorcycles at Eagle Rider. Now, this is available only in 5 parts of the USA. I think it was Florida and other 4 places, probably Los Angeles. I'm not 100% sure though. But yeah, you only have 5 places in US that you can do this, so you can't do it in Europe. Heck, you can't do it in most of the US either way. But still, so these bikes can be rented as usual, so there's nothing special in that. What is special though is that if you go and rent a zero bike and then you decide to buy one, Zero dealers will have to give you 300 US dollars back. 300% would be amazing. Imagine going into a showroom and like, hey, I want to buy this bike for $5,000. Sure, we'll give you $15,000. Yeah, okay, that's not gonna happen. But yeah, so if you rent a Zero bike for Eagle Rider before, Zero will give you a $300 discount, which is great. And you might be asking, okay, well, how much is the rental then? I actually think it's reasonable. It's really reasonable. It's $99 US a day rental prices. So what this means is that you can try a Zero for 3 days, and then if you buy it, you basically don't pay for trying it. That's pretty cool. And if you decide to try it only for a day or for 2 days, you actually get paid for trying it. Sort of. I mean, you still have to spend money on the bike, and zero bikes aren't really cheap, as most electric vehicles are not, serious electric vehicles. But still, I think it's an interesting idea, and it's definitely a cool way to start to popularize the concept of electric bikes. I'm honestly, I'm not against them. I'm willing to try them. I want to try them. I want to see how they are, how they feel, how they make me feel as a rider. But I can't because I'm obviously not in the US, so that's fun. But now we have to move on to the second part, second bit of news. So we have a Panigale V4S. Nothing special. I mean, they updated it for 2020, right? But we've known about this bike. What's new about it? So the V4S lapped around the motorcycle circuit of Jerez in Spain, just 2 seconds off the pace of a MotoGP bike. That's amazing. So how did this happen? The Ducati themselves held a test day at Jerez with their MotoGP team. Now, a lot of the initial testing sessions for MotoGP were either cancelled, some stages were delayed, like the US ones, for example. And so they had to find sort of workarounds. And what Ducati did was they held a test day, and they made the riders actually ride their street bikes, the V4S in this case. So to give you a difference of the lap time, right? Ducati's best time in MotoGP at Jerez in 2020 was 1 minute 41 seconds point 1. This time with the V4S, that time was 1 minute 43 seconds point 3. You might argue that, well, conditions maybe are a bit different, maybe it was way hotter then and you didn't have that much grip. Look, you can make a lot of arguments for what, well, this isn't apples to apples, and look, I get you. But at the end of the day, the conclusion is that this bike was just 2 seconds slower. A bike you can go into the showroom and buy was just 2 seconds slower than a proper MotoGP prototype. Now that's amazing. Of course, the rider makes 90% of it in this case. So they had riders like Miller, they had Johan Zarco, they had Enea Bastianini, they had Jorge Martin, and other riders as well. So yeah, they had top riders, they had MotoGP riders doing it. Of course, you as a Gumby or me as a Gumby can't do that time. But it's definitely an amazing testament of the bike. Sorry, I got interrupted by the garage owner there. But I want to say something else. The last point regarding this article is that the bikes were actually stocks. They were stock Panigale V4Ss with some aftermarket components. But all these aftermarket components, you can buy them in the Ducati Racing Performance catalog. So you could get the exact same bikes that Miller and his gang, I guess, rode in this test day and try to do a 143 free. Yeah, that was not going to happen because we're not Miller or Zarco or whoever's riding the bike. But yeah, still, I think it's a proper testament to how good bikes are these days, especially these superbikes. One, it's a good testament to how much technology from MotoGP got into the regular bikes. And second, it's an amazing testament to how amazing our road bikes are today. That's wild. Honestly, I love it. We are going into more sort of rarities. So, there are 3 Bimota Tesi 3Ds for sale in England right now. And I'm not speaking a foreign language. What the heck is this bike? So, it was a bike made by Bimota quite a while ago. It's fairly unique. And it's mostly unique because of its design. So, you know how usually on a bike, right? You have the frame up top, and then you have a fork coming down from... basically from where your handlebars are. This is not this way. So you do still have handlebars, obviously, but then there is an assembly that holds the front wheel that comes sort of from where your engine would usually be. So you have this weird gap between your upper fairing and then your lower wheel in the front. It looks really weird. It was a really strange design, and it was a really strange prototype and attempt. But still, now we have 3 of them for sale in England. These are some special limited editions, but you can buy 3 of them, which is amazing. They're unique bikes. So let's go into a bit more details about this bike. So on specs, it might not sound that amazing. So it only produces 95 horsepower, and it's powered by a Ducati V-twin, 1078cc Ducati twin. So it's an older Ducati twin. I mean, obviously the bike is older as well. It costs you about $44,000 for you to buy. That's a lot. I mean, I get it. It's a unique bike. They are all unique. Like, this is properly unique bike. You know, this is not just, oh, this is so unique. No, this is an actual unique bike. It's amazing. I'm not sure if it's worth it. 44K, it's a hell of a lot of money, but it's cool. Now, you're not paying for nothing though. So this bike did have really trick components. So it had Öhlins suspension, even though it looked weird, but it was Öhlins. It had Brembo calipers. So the components on that were not bad at all. I mean, not at all, for sure. But it did have that weird front assembly. So yeah, do whatever you want to do with that. On the next news topic, we have Honda. So, they released a Honda CB350 RS. The CB350 was an answer to Royal Enfield when they came with their own sort of 350 category bike, like standard retro-inspired bike. And so Honda responded, like it was 4 months ago or something like that, with their CB350. And now they have a new version of it, the CB350 RS. It is a scramble. A scramble. It's a scrambler. So this is what Honda tried to make this bike look like, a scrambler. And looks-wise, they did it. And in the name, yes, it's a scrambler. But it's not quite a scrambler. So first of all, the ground clearance is, well, not much. Let's start off with that. And you don't have like proper protection. I mean, you do have a skid plate, but yeah, no proper protection. So you can think of this bike as sort of like what the original new Ducati Scrambler was like, right? The OG one. Not the desert sled, just the Scrambler, right? Yes, you could take it off on fire roads and stuff like that. You could definitely do that. But you probably wouldn't want to do much more with that. This is sort of the same thing with this, but with a smaller engine, of course, a 350. It looks cool, though. I'll give them that. The retro design that Honda does is really cool. So if I were after a hippie retro bike, this would be on my list for sure. So they changed the seat, so it has a different seat. It has a slightly more tilted exhaust. It has a skid plate, although I wouldn't necessarily put all my money onto how strong the skid plate is. They have forked sleeves now because you're going to do off-roading, and everything can be blacked out, so no chrome on this one. Another slight inconvenience, I guess, is that you have Y-spoke alloy wheels on 17-inch rims. Now, the fact that these are 17-inch rims, that's fine for me. I don't care about that. But I really wish there was like proper spoked wheels and not aluminum wheels. I think that would make, one, the look much better, and two, it would increase its sort of off-road credibility. But yeah, this is what Honda gave us. And to be fair, these bikes are mostly just going to be pavement queen, so that's fine. The bike produces about 20.7 horsepower, and it weighs about 180 kilograms, 179 point something. Definitely not the lightest thing out there for the capacity and for the horsepower. But hey, this is a bike you mostly buy for the style of it and for how it looks and for how you look on it. And for the fact that, hey, you can take it on a fire road. If you're a beginner, this is an amazing bike. This bike, actually, yeah, as a beginner, this bike would allow you to do so many stuff. First of all, you have a really mellow engine. Yes, you might get bored of it, but I mean, you're a beginner, so you might get bored of almost anything at some point. You can take it to fire road, so you can see if you like sort of off-road bit. You can definitely take it on the street. It looks cool. You look cool on it. So yeah, I actually think this is a neat little bike. I'd love to try it out one day. We're sticking to Honda for a bit because staying in the sort of 350cc category, so there was a 1975 Honda CL 360 found in a crate. This bike is basically like a time capsule. If you want to see how things were done back in 1975, just take a look at this bike. Yeah. Now, you might say, well, has been in a crate for that long, so it must be immaculate, right? No, not really. Like, yes, a lot of the things are immaculate. For example, the leather seat, which is almost impossible on a bike from 75. But some things aren't. So there is corrosion on the chrome bits. Like, for example, the dials are slightly discolored. Obviously not perfect, and obviously if you want to like properly restore it, you have to put quite some money in it. Plus, a bike sitting for almost 50 years now, that, like, imagine the hoses in that and like everything on it. The tires on it have to be terrible, so you definitely have quite a lot of money to invest in that bike in order to put it back to its sort of showroom capabilities. But speaking of showroom condition, the odometer showed less than 2 miles on it. So yeah, brand new bike. So how it got to this place, basically someone bought it in the United States and then they left it into a crate for conservation. For the life of me, I can't figure out why. Why would anyone do that? Why? Not why someone would do this, but why a CL360 for conservation? I mean, someone gotta love their Hondas. But yeah, now it was found basically 50 years later in this state. So it's from some points of view it's immaculate, and from some points of view it's pretty bad. Like, mechanically speaking, yeah, you need to do some maintenance on that one. But hey, still cool. Hey, the car world has barn finds. Apparently we have crate finds in the motorcycling industry. Now this is exciting news, and this is news that I'm actually properly excited to, because we have a new MV Agusta Brutale 800 and the Brutale 800 RR dragster. Woohoo! So it's going to feature 140 horsepower from its 798cc triple. That's a really healthy amount from an 800cc, if you ask me. I mean, the old Triumph Speed Triple was an 1100cc bike, I think. That produced about 140 horsepower or 40 horsepower. This one is 300cc less and produces the same amount of horsepower. That's amazing. And it does all of this with some updated engine internals, and also while being compliant with Euro 5. So that's amazing. Yeah, MV did a good job on this one. So what this bike also features is a new IMU system with cornering ABS, with lean sensitive traction control. You have wheelie control, adaptive LED lights, all the bits and tricks that you would expect out of a modern high-end motorcycle. Also come with a 5.5-inch TFT dash. Not the biggest one, but honestly on bikes, I don't really care that much about display size on them. It's not a complete departure from the old one, right? So it's still a Brutale. It's still a Brutale 800 for all intents and purposes, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, because I loved the old Brutale. I never ridden one, but from reading about it, from documenting myself about it, and from looking at it, yeah, I love the old Brutale. So I think this is going to be quite nice. I mean, MV has always had amazing build quality, and amazing components put on them, and amazing prices, amazingly high prices. But they are one of those brands that can kind of justify them. So yeah. And speaking of design and looking at it, the design is absolutely amazing. It's jaw-dropping. It's superb. It's oh my god, you can definitely jizz. Yep, 5 seconds looking at it, and you gotta go to the bathroom, clean yourself up. Seriously though, the bike, I mean, the old dragster, especially the dragster R, looked amazing, but this one is just as good, if not maybe better. One cool thing is that the dragster actually keeps its spoked wheels, which is one thing that I really hoped it would keep, because they were such a staple of that sort of version of the dragster, and they keep it, so that's amazing. And also, this is one of the only modern bikes, like Euro 5 compliant, that I would not go ahead and change its wheels. Seriously. Not its wheel. What am I talking about? I would not go ahead and change its exhaust. It's got a beautiful looking exhaust, and this is the stock exhaust you get on the bike. This is the most amazing thing to me. You get this out of the box from MV. Euro 5 compliant and everything. That's so cool. I love it. I honestly love it. Good job, MV. Really, really good job. Now, can you give me one to write, please? I know I'm not a big influencer yet, but please. Please. Finally, the last point in this news, which we're gonna quickly sort of go over, is we might have a new Superbike based on the Yamaha MT-07. Now, I'm gonna put a question here. What's the MT-07 engine not in currently? So they have, this engine is incredible, because they have it in a naked bike. That's cool. Have it in an adventure bike. That's cool. Now, having it in a sports bike will be pretty darn nice. It's gonna be a pretty nice platform, and if they do this, I genuinely think that this MT-09 is going to become what the SV650 platform used to be, an entry-level entry into racing. Still a really potent platform. I mean, they could probably extract somewhere around like 80-90 horsepower out of that engine. So you would have some go, for sure, while being really easy to mod. Yeah, I think this would be cool. It makes sense, because in Europe, at least, the R6 isn't sold any longer because of Euro 5, and Yamaha didn't update their 600 Super Sport to meet Euro 5 emission standards. And so this would come in as a perfect replacement, especially for Europe, but not even in America. Like, this would be, the MT-07 was so well received, I don't see why an R07 or something like that would be well received. I really think it would. Now, this is not confirmed yet, so Yamaha didn't just go out and announce it, but a lot of sources mention it. So, also, I want to mention, thanks a lot to Ride Apart and motorcyclenews.com for providing most of these topics that we're discussing here. And yeah, I had one last point in here, that the aftermarket for this will be absolutely huge. The aftermarkets, like markets for the MT-07 and even for the Tenere 700 are big, and they're only getting bigger by the day. And so you have a lot of off-the-shelf parts you can already use on a new sort of R7, I guess. So this will definitely be interesting. I can't wait to see it. Yeah, I would love to ride it. Honestly, I would love to ride it. And that sound from a twin, it's honestly not a bad sound for a small V twin. It's really good. The cross plane sort of twin. But yeah, this has been the news section. We've been going on for like 20 minutes with news. So it's time to jump into the other sort of two categories of this podcast. So next one, we're going to talk about Blast from the Past. Now here we're going to talk about a bike that's both loved and hated, but not at the same time. I'm talking about the Ducati 999. This marked sort of the end of an era for Ducati, because afterwards I think the 1098 got introduced, and that one sort of introduced like new styling principles for Ducati. But I would say the 999 really was the last sort of old school Ducati, old school design. And if you think about bikes like the 996, old school design in Ducati was amazingly beautiful. But the 999, when they launched it, it was a great success in the World Superbike series. So as a bike, it was a great contender to like world titles. But still, it had one really big issue. And for Ducati, it's a weird one to have, but it's the styling. Styling was really controversial. So if you look at this bike from the rear, it looks good. If you look at it from the side, it looks good. If you look at it from the front, yeah, not as much. So in my opinion, to be fair, I'm on the side where I don't really like its front design, but I don't hate it as much as some do. So what this bike featured was the most controversial was their headlights. So they had sort of two round headlights stacked one on top of the other, which is like nothing else Ducati has ever made, right? So Ducati has always had on their superbikes the sort of two side lights in the front, right? They were horizontal, but now they had two round ones vertically aligned. It looks so weird. It looked like a bloody cyclops or something. I don't know. For a bike that should be svelte, that should be agile, should be inspiring beauty and stuff like that, made from Ducati, that front end looked like it was taken from, I don't know, from the Acerbis like aftermarket off-road website and just slapped on there. I personally don't like it. The rest of the bike I think looks really cool. I have got nothing against the rest of the bike, but this one is a bit the front was a bit controversial. This bike, and this is the main reason why this bike is either really loved by hardcore enthusiasts or really hated. So if you're a car guy, you can take the 999 and compare it to something like a Porsche 996. Some people absolutely love them and swear by them. Some people absolutely hate them because of how they look. This is the exact same case with the 999. Don't get me wrong, the bike was a hugely well-performing bike, right? So the engine was good. It had tons of low-down torque. It had good suspension. Heck, it won World Superbike. That's gotta say something, right? It wasn't shit by any means. It was an upgrade over the 996. But the design, I think, was such a big mistake that a lot of people just didn't care at that point. Didn't care about the performances or how it did. No, it is just ugly. And I kind of get it. Honestly, I kind of get it from one point of view. But yeah, this was Blast from the Past, which is sort of going to replace the old sort of story time segment. And now we're going to go into the final segment of this podcast and about what's new on KRANKiT, because, well, actually we do have some news. We have quite a lot of news for this week. Starting off with TikTok. So KRANKiT has had a TikTok in the past, but I never actually took it seriously. What I did was just took like GoPro videos of my rides, and then I would put them in like would have like huge vertical bars. And that's why I would dump on TikTok. I thought TikTok was just a thing where like, you just post a lot of shit and then it will somehow come to be good. Yeah, imagine how that works. It didn't. I mean, it got some views, but nothing to write home about. So I kind of dropped TikTok for a while. I was okay, I'm just going to focus on YouTube and see how it goes. So I have an Instagram already. But now I sort of realized that, okay, you know what? I need to get back into it. I need to get to it with original content. So on the KRANKiT TikTok, what you're going to have now is different videos of what we are currently doing. So if you want to be as up-to-date as possible with KRANKiT, you can follow us on TikTok. So currently, for example, we are building my KLX 450R Supermoto, and you can see a lot of the details and a lot of scenes from that one. We're also going to release proper videos on YouTube. Don't worry, I'm not moving over or something. It's just a complementary platform. But yeah, I just want to tell you that it's there. So if you want to watch, go ahead. And speaking of the Supermoto build series, we officially started it. So I'm done with... I bought a new bike. If you're watching this podcast, you might have seen glimpses of it in the rear. And might see it now, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I finished installing some mods on that bike. And now it's time to go fully, properly into the KRANKiT V4S Supermoto. It's the 18th of February at the time of recording this. And probably publishing as well. And it's due, right? Because we need to do a lot of stuff to that bike. I have a huge list. It's like a full notebook filled with operations that need to be done to that bike. So I was like, okay, it's time to get started. So I already have like half of the parts here. So I need to buy some more stuff. Some things are on the way. Something I need to order. Something I can get locally. It's a bit of a mash of stuff, but we're doing a lot of things to it, right? I know the bike was already a Supermoto, but it was quite a shit one, as you might have seen in the video of I bought an amazingly shit Supermoto. But yeah, we're doing it right now. We're doing it right. We have a lot of brand new parts for it. We're going to throw at it and see how it goes. Right? I really want to have a bike that I love and a bike that's actually mine, that I worked on it. So we started with the disassembly. So we took off all the fairings, like all the plastics on the bike, except the rear fender. We didn't take that one off yet. We might need to in the future. But yeah, so we took most of those things off. We also took off the headlight because we need to fix some stuff in the headlight as well. But we needed access. We also, like, one of the first things I wanted to address and to see how they're done is the electrical system. There are going to be a lot of electrical stuff that will need to be done to the bike, and so I need to get a proper look at it. And so we also had to take off the tank, so we disconnected the fuel lines, and then we drained the tank before that with an electric pump, and then what we basically did is just we removed the tank, and now you can have a really good perspective of what's happening under there. And this is why I wanted this. So let's get this out of the way, right? This is my first ever build series, so I'm definitely not an expert at this. We're gonna do it. We're gonna build this bike. Sorry, I had a bit of a brain freeze from that moment. But yeah, we're gonna do it. So thanks all for watching KRANKiT. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as well. And yeah, see you next time. These are the updates for this week.